The battle for our future, it's being fought with AI. But not in the way you see in the movies, right? This isn't about killer robots. It's about something way more immediate and way more human. It's about control. And that, right there, is the heart of what we're exploring today. The real threat from AI isn't some evil technology. Nope. The danger is us. It's rooted in this massive concentration of power into the hands of just a very, very small group of people. Look, this isn't some sci-fi problem for the future. It's already happening. We've seen deep-fake robocalls trying to mess with elections. We've seen surveillance systems used to track activists. The threat isn't coming. It's here. And it's all about who gets to wield these incredibly powerful tools. So here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to nail down what the real danger of AI is. Then we'll look at the two flawed paths we're heading down right now before we dive into a third, much more interesting one: asymmetry. We'll break down exactly how it can flip the power dynamic, actually speed up innovation, and what big choice it leaves us with. All right, so let's be clear. The fundamental problem isn't about evil algorithms waking up one day. It's a classic story, really, a story about power. Anytime a technology this potent is controlled by just a handful of companies or governments, it becomes a tool for control. It just does, whether they mean for it to or not. Now, when you look at how to regulate AI, there are basically two big ideas being debated around the world. But here's the thing. As we're about to see, it's a false choice, because both of these roads, believe it or not, lead to the exact same place. Okay, so on one side, you have the heavy-handed approach, kind of like the EU's model. It creates this huge bureaucratic bottleneck. The compliance costs are massive, something only a giant like Google can even afford. So what happens? Startups get shut out. Then on the other side, you have the free market, hands-off approach, but that totally ignores how these networks work. The biggest players just naturally get bigger and crush all the competition. So here it is, the big takeaway. Whether it's through mountains of red tape or a total free-for-all, both paths lead to the same destination: monopoly. And this is the one question that both of these models completely, totally miss. They're asking, is the AI fair, or is it developing fast enough? But they forget to ask the most important question of all: who actually gets to use this stuff? And that brings us to a third path, a completely different way of looking at this whole problem. It's not about more regulation or less regulation. It's about different regulation, a kind of regulation that is specifically designed to break up concentrated power and put it back where it belongs, in the hands of the many. So, how in the world does this actually work? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how these selective, asymmetrical rules could completely flip the current power dynamic on its head. The core idea here is something called asymmetrical regulation, and it's actually beautiful in its simplicity. The rules just aren't the same for everybody. Instead, the regulations scale with your power. The bigger and more influential you are, the stricter the rules you have to play by. Simple as that. And this chart really shows you how it works. See that gradient? If you're an individual citizen, you have almost zero restrictions. But as you move up the power scale to a small business, a tech monopoly, or a government agency, the rules get tighter and tighter. A tech giant, for example, would be forced to make its algorithms completely transparent and auditable, while some lone developer in their garage is totally free to innovate without any barriers. The whole point is to put guardrails on the powerful, not the creators. This whole model really boils down to four key principles. 1. Restrictions scale with power. Got it. 2. This asymmetry is what actively drives decentralization. 3. Your rights as an individual are the default setting. And finally, number 4, forcing transparency on the powerful becomes the great equalizer for the rest of us. And listen, this isn't just some wild academic theory. We've actually seen this work before. Breaking up the AT&T monopoly back in the 80s, that directly led to the explosion in mobile phones and internet tech. The big antitrust case against Microsoft in the 90s, that opened the door for browsers like Firefox and Chrome to even exist. History shows us, time and again, that restricting monopolies doesn't kill innovation, it unleashes it. Which brings us to the biggest argument you always hear against this stuff, that regulation just kills progress. But this specific kind of regulation, the asymmetrical kind, well, it turns out it's actually a powerful engine for innovation. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. A monopoly might have a few hundred developers working on 1 or 2 ideas, and the release cycles are measured in years. But a decentralized ecosystem? You're talking tens of thousands of developers working on hundreds of different ideas all at once, shipping updates in months, not years. It's not just faster, it's a fundamentally different, more explosive way to innovate. The data totally backs this up. I mean, just look at the open source AI market. It's projected to more than quadruple in the next 10 years. This is where the real action is, where the real innovation is happening. It's proof that putting the tools of development into many hands, instead of just a few, is the absolute fastest way to move a technology forward. Okay, now let's zoom out for a second, because this choice we're making has massive global consequences. This isn't just about a few startups and tech giants. This is about the future of democracy itself on the world stage. So if we keep going down this centralized path, we're going to end up in a world of what you could call digital colonialism. We'll be competing with authoritarian states like China on their terms. Basically, a race to see who can build the most effective surveillance machine. But the decentralized path, that offers a totally different future. It positions democracies as champions of digital sovereignty, building resilient networks that are, by their very design, resistant to authoritarian control. And we have to be really, really clear about this. The clock is ticking. The huge, foundational decisions that are going to define our technological future for a generation, they're going to be made in the next 18 to 36 months. We are at a critical crossroads, and our window to choose the right path is closing fast. So what do we do? What's the path forward? Well, it's going to take action on 4 different fronts. We, as citizens, need to demand this new way of thinking from our leaders. The community needs to get behind the open source movement. Technologists have to start designing for distributed systems from the ground up. And policymakers have to work with our allies to set a new global standard. This is truly an all-hands-on-deck moment. At the end of the day, it all comes back to this one simple question. The danger isn't the AI. The danger is who controls it. A future with concentrated AI will be controlled by someone. Asymmetrical regulation is the only path that makes sure it's controlled by everyone.